Hello guys, my name's Khadroth, and today I'm going to be explaining to you everything about burning a unit. This is a topic I see asked all the time from new players, is when to burn their units. I see people asking this about embers, I see people asking this about foes, don't burn those. I see people asking this basically when they're unsure and there's not a lot of easy content out there for them to be able to grasp as to how to process burning units. The way to think about burning units in FGO is don't. There's only a few times in which you should. And the easy example of this, and I have done this for science, as chat will note, I have done a multi in both the FP and the gotcha banners, the actual paid banner, just to kind of show you guys how I approach this issue. So if you're a new player and you're just starting the game, the very first thing that you're going to denote is that hey, maybe I've gotten a unit, maybe I've gotten a second copy of that unit. Should I burn the unit? And the answer is no. The very first thing you're going to want to do is actually hit this lock button down here and lock a unit. Now, keep in mind, for higher rarity units, the first copy that you get of them will be locked anyways. And similarly, I think this actually applies to all low star units for the first copy as well. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you save each of these units until you reach NP5. Basically 5 copies of the unit. And so what you're going to do from there is you're going to leave the burning screen. Don't come in here. But you're going to come down to the enhancement screen down here, go over instead to the Noble Phantasm screen, and you're going to combine those units that you see. So for instance, with say Jildaray Caster here, I would combine them and that would give me a second, a NP2 version of it, a higher NP level. This is what getting additional copies of a unit does. It expands the Noble Phantasm capabilities of that unit. Don't confuse that with overcharge mechanics. Those are totally different. They are loosely related because basically as you get a second copy of a unit, it allows the charge to go up to 200% on a unit. And then similarly, as you get to the 5th copy of a unit, it allows the charge to go up to 300% for a unit. But again, that is just the maximum, and each amount you get, each multiple of 100% that you can reach during combat allows you to get another rank of overcharge. But there's other ways to get overcharge in the game, including using overcharge buffs or putting a Noble Phantasm in a chain of Noble Phantasms together. So using say Jildaray Caster's Noble Phantasm after say someone like hold on, my thing got stuck here. Using Jildaray Caster say after someone like Medea. If you were to use Medea's NP first and then use Jildaray Caster's NP second, then you would be able to get for instance more overcharge for Jildaray Caster. So it's different from the Noble Phantasm level. The Noble Phantasm level has a tendency to be damage increases, or again, if it's a support, more supportive increases for them. But the logic here is that you always want to save every copy of a unit until you get the 5th copy. There's really no reason to burn ahead of that. Now, I have talked about this before, that there are some scenarios you might want to consider it, but I consider them to be like emergency scenarios, and really it shouldn't matter too much. The big thing you're going to look for is a scenario in which you go, okay, I already have this say 4-star unit, I get an additional copy of them. The Noble Phantasm increase doesn't really do much for them, and so it might be worthy of keeping that unit separate if I were to need the rare prism. Even then, I still don't really advise doing this, and I still don't really advise burning them for the rare prism. So when you burn a 4-star or higher unit, you will get rare prisms out of them. There are exceptions to this, including welfare and FP gotcha units, but for all other 4-stars, you will get the rare prism. Same thing for 5 stars. So I've seen people burn these units because they didn't think they were going to be useful to them. And I don't advise that, because each one of these units can be just one upgrade away from being really good all of a sudden, even if you didn't think they were that good. Maybe you didn't like the unit, but again, I'm a pretty pragmatic player of the game. I will use any tool that the game allows me to. So I view this as you're just kind of losing the opportunity of something that you already rolled if you burn sort of before reaching the 5th copy. Once you reach 5 copies and you combine them all, that unit is effectively maxed out. Burning a 6th copy of a unit is of no real consequence. There are some scenarios where you might actually want to keep an extra version of a unit. Again, like say take Waver here. There are some people that use what they like to call an esports version of him, where he will be stuck at level 1. This could be actually pretty interesting for challenge purposes, but ultimately it's not that useful for you clearing the game in most cases. So don't worry about that. That's more for, you know, crazy things that people like to do for fun, just to kind of occupy their time. But the logic here would be keeping him at a low level so that he's able to be killed very quickly, but then at the same time also gaining the benefit of whatever his first skill was that is unlocked regardless of his level. So in his case, it's actually a 30% charge skill. So some people would actually lure this skill and level it all the way up just to have it. And that would be, again, their version of what they would call an esports unit. But that's one of the other reasons maybe to keep an extra unit around. But logically, most of the time, you're safe to burn a 6th copy of a unit. There are, again, some units that you're going to have a harder time getting multiple copies of, and that is going to be your 4 stars and higher. So basically, any SR or SSR, you're going to have a harder time gaining more copies of. You're typically only going to find those units by virtue of the paid gacha system in the game. Now, again, you can obviously use any sort of free gacha currency that you get for that, but it's not the same as rolling in, say, the FP pool. The FP pool, on the other side, will be from friend points that you guys get on a day-to-day basis, either from logging in or people using your supports. The FP pool has all of your low star units unless they're limited in some way, shape, or form. So again, all of your 3-star and lower units will be in there. But obviously there can be some exceptions where, for instance, on screen, you guys can actually see Artoria Lily here. And essentially, she is a permanently available 4-star that can be rolled in the FP gacha. So gaining an extra copy of her is great. You want to get all the copies you can up to 5, combine them. But once you get the 6th copy of her, she is considered a welfare unit. Burning the 6th copy does not get you rare prisms. So while, yes, you're still fine to burn her, you don't actually get anything out of this. And so I have seen some people before as well trying to say like, hey, what if I burn this unit before I get 5 copies? The problem is, because it's a welfare, you're really not gonna get anything out of that. You're just getting the mana prisms, not the rare prisms. And rare prisms are a much more lucrative resource for people. They're much harder to get your hands on because they're only given out via campaigns or, again, from burning. So when you're gonna want to burn units is only past the 5th copy. There really is sketchy logic at best for burning before that point. And most of the times that you'll hear people say that they burned a unit was because they either were mad or they just didn't actually think that they were going to get any use out of that unit. Even if you think you're going to get no use, keep the unit, still combine the copies, because like I said, you may have times that you actually see that unit get upgraded and become useful to you, or it may just be a case that by keeping them around, you have access to their strengthenings, to their interludes, any sort of other milestones that they help you complete. So you still want to eventually level that unit up, regardless of whether or not you think you're going to actually use that unit prolifically. Similarly here too, you maybe don't have to skill the unit. You don't have to go crazy with that if you don't think you're going to use them, but by at least leveling the unit's largely prepared and usable at that point. So it's not the end of the world. But again, this is why I wanted to talk about this, is because I see a lot of sort of misinformation as to when and how you should burn units. Again, you guys can see here, I did actually manage to get an SSR, and that is actually kind of funny because this is an SSR I have gotten way too many times. And so as a result, I ended up getting one of the ultra rare USOs from him. So it's really funny to talk about that because that's a system that for most of you guys that are starting the game, especially if you're free to play, you're not really gonna get too many of these. You only get a USO when you get a 6th copy or more of an SSR that you have. The game does keep track of these. It knows how many you've gotten. And so you don't need to burn prior copies, and burning a prior copy to 6 will not get you a USO. So there's no real benefit to that either. And that's kind of what I'm trying to dispel here, is really there's no reason to burn before NP5. But even in his case, I got the USO out of him, and the USOs can actually be used once you get 10 of them to exchange for a free SSR. That might sound pretty good to you if you're just starting the game, but again, I can tell you that the vast majority of players never actually even get a USO, let alone participate enough to actually exchange anything. So that's why I'm telling you guys, don't try to burn an SSR to get a USO. Don't try to burn an SR to get a rare prism either. You will get rare prisms as you play the game because the devs do give them out for certain things, for certain milestones and campaigns. So I highly recommend just being patient. This game is a marathon. It is not a sprint, as all gacha games are. They are designed to be something that you can do long term over time. So sort of sit back, relax, and enjoy your time in FGO. Don't try to burn units too quickly because you might find that you regret it down the line when you realize the unit maybe wasn't what you expected, or maybe you ended up actually liking the unit in the end. Again, there's a lot of times where I've seen people sort of write a unit off, then here comes an event that the unit's in and they suddenly decide that they actually really like the unit. So that sort of thing, people's minds do change on units over time, and it's why I advise playing it safe, because you can't undo your burning in any way, shape, or form. But really, all you're going to get out of burning is mana prisms, potentially rare prisms, and some QP. It's why I don't really recommend it, because the QP is not really worth it in the end. So it's really just for mana prisms, and that's why I say one of the best things you're going to do as a new player is come in here, get all of these low star units that you guys can, get them to NP5, lock them, combine them, and then once you do, that unit's done, and then you can burn any additional copies beyond the 5th at no penalty to yourself. That way you have the full capability, and that way you're well on your way to becoming a very robust master. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Also, don't forget to check me out next week on Twitch. On Friday the 24th, I will be streaming a charity stream for Gamers Outreach. It's for a great cause, for bringing video games to hospitalized children. So I think that's a great cause to support, and one that I hope to see you guys there for. And also, just a quick PSA, don't forget, you have to complete your survey by the 21st on NA, or else it will expire. So make sure you guys get that one done sooner rather than later. And I will see you guys for the next video. Have a good one.